I could use a hand here.
Hello everyone, I'm Alexander Ambush, the architect, and welcome to this week's episode of The Awakening, a retrospective to Persona 5 and Persona 5 The Animation. I am Alex, and joining me is the one and only JBM, or as you may know in Parkscope Joe. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Good. I'm really just happy because I'm finally able to play Persona 5, and since the time of recording, I'm now at the third palace in the game, which is the Futaba, I think.
No, third one is, if you're at Futaba, that's the fourth palace.
Okay, that's what I meant, the fourth. Oh yeah, the fourth, third, because that third one's kind of Shira. I screwed up.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Sometimes names get to me. We're just going to go right away and just give our quick last thoughts on the Kamoshida arc for the anime. We are going to save our thoughts on the game arc until later time, because I actually want to go through that more in a separate episode. Just because of how good it is.
Yeah.
It felt rushed to me. It felt very off-kilter for the anime, and thankfully the Madarame arc is a lot better than that.
Yeah, I think one of the issues they had was that because the Kamoshida arc is so good in the game, and it sets up so much of the game itself, that it felt like the Madarame arc took a dive a little bit in the game, but in the anime it feels like it actually raises the stakes. Things feel actually more volatile, and things feel way more trying to find the words for this.
Emotional?
It feels emotional, yeah. It feels like there's more weight to it, while in the game it feels not as weighty. I don't know if that's because of the writing of the game or the English text translation, but it just
you mean the Prowley?
Yeah. So it's that whole entire thing. It just kind of drops the ball on it, but I really enjoyed it. Well, I guess the Madarame I really enjoyed, but Kamoshida just kind of just fails. I think it's not as dynamic. It doesn't move. It feels kind of static in a way, and low stakes. I think that's the best way to put it. In the game, it feels heavy and important, and in the anime, it feels low stakes.
Yeah, I would especially agree with that. And allow us to just go right away to episode 5, where we see immediately the Phantom Thieves, or whatever you name them in the game, go out and celebrate after the events of Kamoshida. And we see a bit of how Anne, Ryuji, and Ren all see the adults in the buffet, and this episode felt very much like a introduction to just like a brief, kinda. Would you say that?
Yeah, I mean, continue with your thoughts, because I have some larger thoughts.
I'm just trying to remember, because I have not watched episode 5 since about 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I've been actually trying to keep away from spoilers. But yeah, Episode 5 kind of felt more like a pause, but a good pause, so that way we can start seeing the establishing of these characters and what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would also argue that we get to see some really nice, like wasn't this like the little snippet where we saw the first appearance of Akechi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you also saw Akechi in the game and also in the anime at the very, very beginning of the game, like when I think it's the end of the first episode when he's getting dinner with Sei.
Oh yeah, in the game, because it was like the night after, like the night that the character that you play goes to LeBlanc for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And Sei and the chief all like talk to each other, and it's about the psychological attacks.
Yeah, it was about the train,
Mm-hmm.
the train crash.
Yep, and Akechi meets up with Sei at the bottom of the stairs in the game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of episode 5?
I think what's important with episode 5 is that the game, and this is the bridge between the larger conflict and bigger themes of the game and what was originally a much smaller conflict. This is the bridge between this being a very much dealing with their own problems. It is very, and one of the reasons why it works so well in the game is that it is them and their friends immediate. Like, this is something that they are in, 8 to 12 hours a day, and they are taking care of it and improving the lives of people around them in an immediate and very real sense. This episode in particular is about really expanding that broad reach to, this isn't just about improving our lives, it's about improving others' lives, including those who are put upon, or they feel trapped, or or any of the other themes. So it kind of sets the groundwork for why they want to continue as the Phantom Thieves.
Yeah.
And we also get some foreshadowing.
We are also introduced into the mementos in this
Yes.
episode too. And we get to have a little bit more growth with Morgana as well in this episode too.
Yeah. I watched this one weeks and weeks ago, so
Yeah.
I don't remember everything, but
I'm right now on the wiki trying just to remember.
yeah, exactly. So that's kind of my thought on this episode in particular. Was it's just kind of the bridge to really take this game from being in the school and making it an actual immediate threat, in a larger sense.
And also for the anime, it's just to establish that this is a large, large world that these kids are about to face into. Regardless of which of their age, they are going into this head on. And it's very nice to see that alongside just like planting the seeds to some fantastic growth for Yusuke and the Monorame arc, which leads us to episode 6, our next target is, which is from Kazuki Hoshi. And this is where we start the Madarame arc in full force, with Yusuke Kitagawa and Madarame fully introduced. I'm going to let you start. What was your favorite aspect of the episode?
I'm going through the Wikipedia article too, because again, so in the game, it's a little more Mementos leads into larger discussions, but it's still kind of lost of why they're looking at Madarame. It's kind of a little more muddled, but in the anime, this is where things start getting. I think they're actually learning how to approach this. Is that the anime is starting to actually dive into like, okay, well, these things are starting to tie up. Like, well, not only, well, there's this person Mementos who dropped the name Madarame, and there's a person complaining about this on the fan site, and all this stuff kind of is starting to weave together of them then, determining, hey, we need to look at Yusuke, and that. I think it kind of rolls together better. What's also interesting is that they, I forget, do they introduce Oa in this one, or not? Yeah. I forget how to pronounce her name, but she's the reporter.
No, it is
Later, I think.
I think it's episode 7 because it. Actually, no, it is episode 6 because it was it was before the cognition change, I think.
Yeah, I forget because this is when they start also moving things around, in the anime where like when you would meet a character or when you start a certain social link, pertains in the game to also what kind of skills you can start developing and all that stuff. So they've been moving characters around a lot more, and if I'm not, and that's kind of where I'm trying to figure that out, is just like I think she's in this episode, but very briefly.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then also what I liked a lot was that they improved the scene where they were talking to the when the one informant, whatever his guy, the one guy they changed the heart of.
Yes. No, that was I think episode 7. The one that they changed early on, that mentioned the Madarame's name.
No, it's no. What I'm talking about is, so there's when they go into the Mementos, there's that guy who has an issue, like he's stalking his ex-girlfriend or whatever, and then he drops Madarame's name, and then it turns out he, because of the change of heart, wants to prevent Yosuke from falling down the same trap. So they actually meet in the subway, and that's when they do the whole entire really cool, Anne is walking by.
The Jason Bourne.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very spy-esque thing where you think you're talking to someone and then you turn around and no one's there, kind of thing, but he was there the whole time. Yeah, that was really cool and well done. And something you can only really do in animation and you really can't do in gameplay. So I think that's something that's definitely better than the game.
I would agree. A lot of the Madarame arc is very much improved in the anime because they take some very interesting steps, in my opinion, that we'll talk about in episode 7, episode 8, that I actually really prefer in the anime over the game. And that's not to say the game version is bad. I think it's hard to top what you started with when it came to Kamoshida, because that was a pretty high bar.
Yeah, especially in the game.
Mm-hmm. And I liked, I'll actually go and just talk about my favorite aspect of the episode. It was just, I loved how episode 6 really just took aim and just went with trying to do things that were unique yet still worked. And albeit I wish we had more time with this one, because I think we could have seen a bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the issue, that a general criticism with the anime, and I think it's well delivered towards it, is that when the game was in development, Hashino, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the director basically said each palace could be one season of television. Which is then funny that they're, wrapping up what he considers one season of television in 2 hours, give or take.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of, there's a lot dropped or there's a lot shuffled. You're seeing things being laid out that will clearly show up later. I won't talk about it now because it's much later, but some of the things that are being rolled out probably will be hooked together better and a little bit later, and probably much quicker. One of the things I'm noticing is that a lot of the confidants are being wrapped up in about an episode each. So you're seeing, you're really seeing Ryuji's arc being wrapped up, fully addressed and wrapped up in one episode. So the team's getting back together. Then he finds out that it's a real, it's another underling of Kamoshida. Then they do the spy, and then they, confront all the kids and, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so they
that
kind
was
of
like
wrap it all together.
I think that was like episode. Because you're going ahead in episode by about 11.
Oh, okay.
Episode
Sorry.
11. Yeah, I know that's after Madarame. And
Okay. I'm just using it as an example, though, that
No worries.
they are wrapping up their. I'm sorry about that. We'll cover in episode 11, but the idea was just like, hey, they're wrapping up these, story points that as you're playing the game, these things can go on in game time for weeks and months, and they're wrapping them up in a day.
And we're also seeing like characters get slowly integrated into the story, like Makoto, and also more about just like, as you said, Oha, and a bit more about that. And that's one thing I kind of respect, yet kind of feel a bit off kilter. Like for some things, Makoto makes sense because she does really become kind of a very interesting character early on.
Makoto, you're talking about again? I'm sorry. Right?
Makoto.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, Makoto's is my favorite, one of my favorite characters in the game, and again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here.
I know, and I'm screwing up.
Yeah, but she's another character that I feel like her motivations are better explained in the anime than the game, because in the game it's just kind of a lot of size, while they draw more of an actual character and her reaction to basically being put down and told to stay in her lane, and gaslit and all sorts of stuff. Way better in the anime. But yeah.
Yeah, and was there any aspect of episode 6 you didn't like?
If I did, I forgot about it.
No worries.
Yeah, because again, like, I'm forgetting about, I'm remembering the good stuff I liked, because I did watch this back in May or June.
Yeah, because the episode 5 and 6 came out on the 6th and 13th.
Yeah. But I think, and to come back to episode 6, I think one of the things I really enjoyed about this arc was that that they actually kind of said what was going on more, because there's a lot of innuendo about the motivations and things going on with characters in the game, where they're kind of more like, well, I did but in the anime it's very much I'm gonna put my boot on someone's throat kind of situation here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because and also it's way more dynamic, so you don't just have, because it's cheaper to actually animate, hand drawn animation, various scenes that can be custom created for. I mean, you have to, like, you can't necessarily just keep reusing the same phone spinning animations and all that stuff from the game, and using the same character placements and that kind of thing. You actually have to do something different, so that allows you to show more things than actually just write and have text boxes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, when the game came out last year, that game got memed left and right, up and down, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Looking cool.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my favorite ones was like, you're so busy, but you're paying attention, but you still have to like tweet or something like that. And it was a image of this girl in during the Kamoshida arc, when Shiho tries to kill herself. Like, how they have all the students looking out the doors and the windows. Like, this poor girl was stuck in half in an animation, or like they just moved her position around. So she was holding her phone, but they never animated a not texting animation for the phone. So it was like her looking at like what was going on, and just her thumb was going wild as she was texting. It was the funniest thing I've seen, because like they just never did that. because you need to create all new animations, and you need to, you know, test it, make sure it works in the game, and you need, you know, it takes memory space, blah 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 blah. Which is why, you know, Persona 5 was so amazing when we saw it, because we're so used to Persona 4 and 3, and where it's a very static game. Like, the characters don't have much animation because it's from the frickin' PS2 era. Like, you know, you go from basically having 4 megabytes of RAM to having 5 gigs. So you're allowed to, you know, do more with it. So that's kind of where I think that's what I like about these episodes later on, is that they're actually starting to take advantage of the animation medium itself more, and show and not tell. So anyway, that's kind of my long explanation for that, I guess.
No worries. And yeah, I think we pretty much covered as well the dynamics between the anime and the game.
Yeah.
So that actually concludes today's episode of The Awakening. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you all have enjoyed the past 3 episodes. You can find JBM at
Parkscope Joe on the Twitter.
Alright. And you can find me, the Architect, at Alexander M. Bush on Twitter. You can find anything for Time Split on Twitter at _timesplit_. And you can follow anything for the Game Bay that is not just The Awakening here. Thank you guys so much for watching. We can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. Take care. And remember that life will change.
Yeah.
I could try.
Yeah.
Alright, bye guys.